What's up, Nerdyverse? I'm Daddy Louie, and in this video, we are taking a look at the upcoming expansion for 13 monsters called Armed to the Teeth. So stick around. Before we get started, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe for more content and hit that bell icon so you don't miss any future videos. 13 Monsters was a successfully backed Kickstarter in December of 2019 from Twisted Stranger, and now they are taking the game and they are pushing it a step further with this new expansion, Armed to the Teeth, which launches in early October of this year. The original game, 13 Monsters, is a game that evolves over time. It starts at a very basic level 1, where you are literally playing a game of memory. There are monster tiles that are flipped upside down on the board, and you're playing memory, trying to build sections of the monster. Once you've completed a section of the monster, you unlock level 2, where you can start trying to steal and capture other people's sections of their monsters. And then once you've completed at least one full monster by getting their head, their middle, and their bottom, then you have unlocked level 3 of the game, where you can start attacking and using special powers and stuff like that. Now, the expansion, Armed to the Teeth, takes that entire concept, the whole game, everything stays the same, except now you can, once you've unlocked a certain level, you can start grabbing armor, you can start grabbing weapons and shields to add on to your monsters, you unlock new spells that weren't available to you in the first game or in the original game, and you're just pressing that strategy a little bit further. But is it good? Well, if you'll join me on the table, we'll check it out. Okay, so before we can talk about the expansion, we have to talk about the base game, since I have not reviewed this game before. There's a lot to talk about, so this is going to be more of an overview than in-depth, just because we would be here forever if I talked about both games, or both versions here. Okay, so inside the base game here, we have some monster tiles, as well as a quick reference sheet here, and the rule book. Now, the game is made out of the Netherlands, so there are a lot of pages to these rule books. They're actually quite thick, but that's just because they're repeated in multiple languages. So I really like that. I appreciate it. Even the cheat sheet here has multiple versions in all of the languages that are covered, which is really, really neat. And then this is our little center tile here. So for the game, we would take all of these tiles. They represent different parts of the monsters. You can see we have the top, the middle, and the bottom, and there are 13 monsters in total. So 13 tiles for each piece. The backs are, of course, all the same. So to play this game, we would lay out all of the tiles, mix them up first, of course, and then we would lay them out in a memory-style grid. So if you've ever played the game of Memory, which I'm sure everyone has at least once, it's a pretty standard elementary school game. You're basically going to be flipping on each of your turns. You're going to be flipping over to looking for matches. And then once you have a match, you would then collect it. Now, you're matching those rows. So in order to match these guys, for example, or to match for this monster, I'd need to match the middle, the bottom, or the top. So if I find a top and a bottom, for example, that's not a match. You have to match together. And the numbers and the location where those particular pieces go are right there on the tile. So even though the art is, when you're looking at just the tile, some of the art might be, well, does this match up, confusing? The numbers and these little symbols really help out with that. So in phase 1 of the game, or level 1 of the game, each player has the opportunity to just flip over tiles. That's all they're going to do is flip over tiles each turn until they have a match. And then once they get a match, they have a section of the of one of the monsters. They would then unlock level 2. For level 2, they are they're given some powers, not very many, a couple. The main one being the ability to swap parts. So if you have a middle section of one monster that goes with the top section of another monster, you can swap them around. It's called sacrifice within the game. And then once you have a complete monster, and a complete monster is just a top, middle, and bottom to any monster. So you can have, the top of monster 1 with the middle of monster, let's find it here, the middle of monster 6, and, the bottom of monster 2. This is a monster here. Once you have a complete monster, you're now upgraded to level 3. And once you're at level 3, you unlock all of the powers. You can start attacking and trying to steal your opponent's pieces of their monsters. The object here is to have the most powerful monsters. You're trying to complete monsters, the 13th monster being the most powerful. And you can also attack, like I said. So let's talk about attacking really quick because it's kind of unique. It's basically kind of like Yahtzee. So if you have a monster that has one set of like elements, so you can see there's different elements here. We got some nature elements. We have some dark energy elements. We have some fire elements. So let's say you have a monster that just has one matching element, only the top. You get to roll 3 times for your attack. If you're matching 2, then you get to roll 4 times for your attack. And if you're matching all of them, you get to roll 5 times for your attack. And then the 13th monster, he actually gets to roll 6. So let me talk about how the rolling works. So you're going to take your dice. They're cool pink dice, which I really like. And you're going to roll them out looking for like symbols. And then you're going to save them, kind of like Yahtzee. You're looking to try and get as close to 5 of a kind as you can with the highest numbers possible. So I like these 2 6s. So if this was a novice monster or a monster with only one element, we would roll 3 times. So we're going to roll again. I don't have any 6s. And then we're going to roll one more time. I got one more 6. So now this would be 18 damage that I would be trying to throw at my opponent. And then my opponent's going to do the same thing. If they have a complete monster, they're going to do the same thing. They do 3, 4, 5, or 6, depending on what type of monster they are. If they are not a complete monster, if they're only one section, then they're going to roll the same amount of times that the attacker rolled. So let's say I'm doing that. I have some 4s here. I'll go again. No 4s, and then I'll go one more time. No 4s. So actually, I'd probably swap that out for the 5. So I got 10. My opponent had 18, so I would obviously lose, and my opponent would get to steal a section of one of my monsters. That's kind of how attacking works, stealing, etc. And that really, at the core, is what 13 Monsters in. You are early game. You are just flipping over memory-style tiles to complete sections of a monster. At level 2, once you have at least one section of a monster, you can start trying to steal from your opponent. You can start trying to, switch your pieces around to try and make better monsters. And then once you get to the last level, once you get to level 3, that's when you unlock all your superpowers. That's when you can attack, etc. And at the end of the game, whoever has the most valuable monsters will win. That's how 13 Monsters play. Okay, now that we've talked about that very briefly and quickly, let's talk about the expansion Armed to the Teeth. All right, so let's talk about the expansion Armed to the Teeth, since that's why we're here. Again, lots to talk about, so this is going to be pretty, overviewish as opposed to in depth. So everything about the base game stays the same, with a few very small differences. So this guy right here, this is Trall, and Trall is going to go into the middle of the board. Anytime that you would get a set of monster parts to add to a monster, Trall is going to come over to you. So you're going to be upgraded from level 1 to level 2 once you get your first set, and you're going to have Trall. Trall's going to stay with you until somebody else gets a set, and then he's going to go over to them. While Trall is with you, you can forge armor or weapons or pieces from within this set. So you're going to take these dice here, if I can get them out of the box. So you're going to take these dice here while you have Trall, and you're going to try and craft something from the armory here. So you've got these red things right here. These are armor pieces. You're looking for 2 anvils while rolling these dice. So if you get at least 2 anvils, you can get a piece of armor for your monsters. So here we have what looks like a headpiece, and this gives your monster +2 damage. Then if you have 3 or more, which I happen to roll 4, that was a good roll. If you have 3 or more icons, you can get a metal monster piece. So this expansion also adds, sorry, that's these ones here. This expansion also adds metal monsters. So there are, extra monsters on top of the 13 that are made, and these can be either put together as full monsters, or they can be used in place of other pieces. So let's say I have a middle and a bottom, but I haven't, in my search of the memory pile, haven't found a top. This top can replace it, at least until I get a regular top. That's what the metal monster pieces work. They also have powerful attacks and stuff like that as well. And then if you roll 4 or more, which I just so happen to do, you can forge a weapon. And these come out as either weapons or shields. And you can attach one of each, obviously, onto your monster. And they will give you special bonuses as well, making your monsters more powerful. So the other thing that can happen while Trall is with you is you can steal. So in the regular game, in order to take from another player pieces, you need to attack them. With Trall, you don't need to attack them. You can actually try and steal. And again, you roll these dice. You're looking for swords. So right here, I got 4 swords. And then my opponent would roll the same amount, and they would need shields. They got 4 shields, so that would block my steal. I didn't do that on purpose, but you can see how that works. So that's how stealing when you have Trall with you works. So you can forge and you can steal after you've collected a monster set and Trall comes to you. Now, just like in the original game, you don't do collecting until the end of your turn. That's like the last thing that you do, flipping stuff over. So Trall's going to come to you at the end of your turn, basically, when you've selected something. You won't be able to do this stuff until the beginning of your next turn, hoping that somebody else doesn't steal him in the meantime. This miniature is going to be really cool once it's final. He's 3D printed right now, so he's obviously got some print lines and stuff. But once you actually get one of these in your hands, you're gonna love. I can't wait to get one so that I can paint it up. I think he's gonna be really, really cool. I like Trall a lot. All right, so real quick, I just want to show you guys like how the art and stuff looks. So you've got your shield and your sword and your armor pieces. This right here is the 13th monster from the original game. And then you have these armor pieces that you would be unlocking through the forge on your turn. You can see how they just kind of nicely fit over the monster, and they change the stats, they give you new abilities and stuff like that. I'm not going to go over every single one because there's quite a few of them, but you can see how just this expansion is taking the simple concept of memory that kind of evolves into a strategy like battling game with the original, and then it adds RPG elements onto it by being able to forge weapons and armor and shields, giving your monsters new abilities, making them stronger, making them more beefy be able to take more hits and stuff like that. That's really at the core of what this expansion is trying to do. Take what made the original so good, don't change it or anything like that, but expand upon it by adding new options and new things for you to do with your monsters. I really, really like that. They're not trying to add in extra gameplay mechanics that don't make sense. They're not trying to just give you more monsters. They could have easily just made, a more monsters expansion, and now, instead of having 13 monsters, you have whatever, and instead of just, you could replace other monsters with new monsters. They're not doing that. They're taking the other game, which clearly did well because it was already funded last year, and they're just adding on to that. And, between the new forging and stealing mechanics that you can do with the dice, adding the weapons and the shields and the armor, and then this little Trall guy here, it really is just the perfect amount of expansion added to an already great game. But I know that that's not as in depth as I normally do. There are a lot of components here, and I don't want to take up too much time. I really wanted to give you an overview, but you can kind of see what the expansion does that the original doesn't, and kind of see the direction in which this game is going. The original 13 Monsters was created using an old game of memory. The developers were on a vacation. All they had access to was memory. They wanted a deeper game, and they came up with the idea of taking a classic like memory and giving you a brand new strategic game to play. Fast forward, now we have an expansion. This was really made to introduce gamers who were already familiar with games like Memory, Shoots and Ladders, just those bare basic games, and give them some strategy to start them down the path of more serious gaming. This expansion here was just the natural next step to that. It doesn't add to the other game as far as changing, like the other game, the original is unchanged, right? Nothing is different. This just adds to it, which I really, really like. A lot of expansions nowadays remove or change or alter the original game in some way. They don't just add to it. This just adds to the original. So if you like the original, you'll want this game once you've mastered that. You know what I mean? This is just the natural next step. You can feel the classic style board games here in this game. You can feel Memory, you can feel Pokemon, you can feel games like that have been bred together to make something brand new. The development team already has a third expansion in mind to even further that concept. So you're growing, your strategies, you're growing, the gameplay is growing, it's expanding rather than just altering and changing. This game was bred out of feedback from the community. So when the original came out, a lot of the things that changed or a lot of the things that the game became was due to community feedback. Same thing with this expansion. They listen to the community, they listen to the players, and they build and expand off of that. There's even a graphic novel in the works, which is really, really neat because these characters are kind of awesome. I only showed you one, but there's 13, obviously. You can go on their website. I'll leave links to everything in the description below to check out all of the great artwork, all of the cool stuff. I'll try and throw some stuff in the thumbnail and stuff too so that you can see it. But anyway, so this game comes out early October on Kickstarter from Twisted Stranger. definitely go and check it out. I don't think you guys will be disappointed. What do you guys think of the 13 Monsters original game and expansion Armed to the Teeth? Let me know in the comment section below. If you want to see more from the Circle of Nerds, we have all kinds of the social media. We got Facebook, we have Twitter, we have Instagram, all at Circle of Nerds. We also have a podcast that comes out every week. You can find that here on YouTube or anywhere that you enjoy listening to podcasts. And we just have a lot of really great stuff coming up here in the near future. So definitely stay tuned for all of that. For an extra bit of love and affection, please consider checking us out over on Patreon at patreon.com/circleofnerds. Anyway, guys, that's all from me. I'll see you in the next video.